Bletchley Park, England, February 1941. British cryptanalysts achieved the impossible. They cracked the German Enigma cipher. Every U-boat transmission, every naval directive, every convoy hunting order, all of it was now readable. But this breakthrough created a paradox more dangerous than ignorance. How could British intelligence use this information to save Allied convoys without revealing to the Germans that their most secure communication system had been compromised? The answer required a deception so precise that German Naval Command would never suspect the truth. For 18 months, MI6 orchestrated a ghost war in the Atlantic, feeding false intelligence through a double agent codenamed Tricycle, sending U-boat wolf packs hunting phantom convoys while real supply lines crossed unmolested. The operation that neutered Germany's submarine fleet without firing a shot remained classified for 3 decades. This is Operation Bodyguard. The Enigma machine represented the apex of wartime cryptography. Invented in the 1920s, adopted by the German military in the 1930s, it used a system of rotors and electrical pathways to scramble messages into seemingly random letter sequences. Each machine had 3 to 5 rotors selected from a set of 8. Each rotor had 26 positions. The daily key settings meant the machine could produce over 150 trillion possible configurations. German Naval Command believed Enigma was mathematically unbreakable. Intelligence assessments from 1938 confirmed that even if the British captured an Enigma machine, they could never determine the daily settings fast enough to read operational traffic. This confidence made Enigma the backbone of U-boat operations. By 1940, Admiral Karl Dönitz commanded over 200 submarines hunting Allied convoys across the Atlantic. His strategy relied on coordinated wolfpack attacks. A single U-boat would spot a convoy, transmit the position via Enigma, and headquarters would vector in every submarine within range. The British lost over 3 million tons of shipping in 1940 alone. At that rate, Britain would starve before America could mobilize. The strategic equation was simple. Whoever controlled the Atlantic sea lanes controlled the outcome of the war. Conventional code-breaking methods had failed completely. The Government Code and Cipher School at Bletchley Park had been working on Enigma since 1939. Early attempts used frequency analysis, the standard approach for breaking substitution ciphers. Useless. The rotor system changed the substitution pattern with every keystroke. Linguists tried identifying common German military phrases. Nothing. The daily key changes meant yesterday's breakthrough was today's dead end. By mid-1940, British intelligence could occasionally decrypt messages 3 to 4 days after transmission. Tactically worthless. A convoy's position from Tuesday meant nothing by Friday. The vulnerability emerged from an unexpected source. In May 1941, the Royal Navy depth-charged U-110 to the surface south of Iceland. Boarding parties secured the submarine before the crew could destroy the Enigma machine and current codebooks. The captured materials reached Bletchley Park on May 10th. Mathematician Alan Turing and his team had been developing an electromechanical device called the bomb, designed to test rotor positions at high speed. With the captured settings as a starting point, the bomb could now crack daily keys in under 20 hours. By June 1941, Bletchley Park was reading German Naval Enigma traffic with near regularity. The intelligence was extraordinary. U-boat positions, fuel states, torpedo inventories, wolf pack coordination orders, everything. But using this information created an immediate operational crisis. If the British suddenly started routing convoys around known U-boat patrol lines, German Naval Intelligence would notice the pattern. They would investigate. They would change Enigma procedures, add rotors, modify the entire system. The British would lose their greatest intelligence advantage of the war. MI6 needed a cover story. Not just for one convoy, but for every convoy. The cover had to explain how the British were avoiding U-boats without suggesting code breaking. It had to be believable enough that the Germans never suspected. And it had to be sustainable for potentially years. The solution emerged during a strategic planning session in July 1941. If the British couldn't explain how they were avoiding U-boats, they would make the Germans believe they weren't avoiding them at all. Instead, MI6 would convince German Naval Intelligence they were successfully targeting convoys, except the convoys would be fabrications. Real Allied shipping would be rerouted using Enigma Intelligence. Simultaneously, German U-boats would be fed false convoy routes through a controlled double agent. The submarines would hunt empty ocean. German Naval Command would attribute the failures to bad weather, navigation errors, or unlucky timing, never to compromised codes. MI6 called this the Phantom Target Doctrine. The logic was straightforward. If the enemy believes they're attacking real targets that happen to be well-defended or unlucky, they won't suspect their intelligence is being manipulated. The doctrine required 3 elements. First, a credible agent with access to genuine convoy routing information. Second, the ability to fabricate convincing but false convoy data. Third, precise coordination between the deception team and convoy routing authorities to ensure no real ships wandered into the kill zones MI6 was creating for German submarines. The obstacles were considerable. German Naval Intelligence wasn't naive. They maintained multiple intelligence sources: aerial reconnaissance, coast watchers, submarine, sightings, and signals intelligence of their own. If the double agent's reports contradicted other sources, the deception would collapse. Additionally, the agent had to maintain credibility over months, possibly years. One exposed fabrication would destroy the entire operation. Most critically, MI6 had to prevent anyone outside a tiny circle from knowing about Enigma. That meant naval commanders couldn't be told why their convoy routes were being changed. The admirals would resist without explanation. The cover story had to work on the British side as well. Despite these challenges, planners identified an opportunity. They already had the perfect asset. Within 6 months, all elements would be in position. But first, the double agent codenamed Tricycle needed to be activated without arousing German suspicion. Dusan Popov was 30 years old when MI6 recruited him in December 1940. Born in Serbia, educated at the University of Belgrade and the University of Freiburg in Germany, Popov had spent the late 1930s building a business career that gave him contacts across Europe. When German intelligence approached him in Belgrade in mid-1940, Popov contacted British intelligence immediately. The Abwehr, German military intelligence, wanted him to spy on Britain. MI6 wanted him to spy for Britain while pretending to spy on Britain. Popov accepted both offers. The Abwehr gave him the codename Even. The British gave him Tricycle, allegedly because he insisted on sleeping with 2 women simultaneously during his London visits. Though this origin story may itself have been intelligence service humor. By January 1941, Popov was in London, transmitting carefully curated intelligence back to his German handlers. The information was genuine enough to maintain credibility, but strategically worthless. Troop movements already known to German reconnaissance. Factory production figures from facilities too well defended to bomb. Political gossip with no operational value. During the spring of 1941, as Bletchley Park began cracking Enigma regularly, MI6 assessed whether Tricycle could be repurposed for naval deception. The evaluation was positive. Popov had the access. German intelligence believed he had cultivated sources in British shipping offices and dockyard administration. He had the credibility. His previous reports had proven accurate when the Germans could verify them. Most importantly, he had the psychological profile. MI6's assessment noted, "Subject demonstrates exceptional emotional control under sustained pressure. Shows no indication of ideology-driven motivation either direction. Operates from combination of financial incentive and intellectual stimulation. Both factors remain exploitable." But using Tricycle for Operation Bodyguard created a specific psychological risk. The operation would require him to send reports knowing they would send German sailors into empty ocean, repeatedly, for months. Post-war interviews revealed what happened during one transmission session in April 1942. Popov was encoding a false convoy route, designation HX-229, supposedly leaving Halifax for Liverpool, actual status, non-existent. His handler that night recorded in the operational log, "Agent paused mid-encryption, asked if we were certain about the coordinates, reminded him information verification was not his concern. Agent completed transmission without further comment. Session duration, 11 minutes longer than standard. Recommend psychological assessment." The assessment found Popov experiencing what handlers called legend drift, the psychological blurring when false identity feels more real than the original. He had been pretending to be a German agent for so long that transmitting false information felt like betraying his German identity, even though his German identity was itself the lie. The MI6 psychiatrist noted, "Subject intellectually understands his true loyalty. Emotionally, the sustained deception has created competing internal narratives, not operationally compromising at present. Monitor for deterioration." The mission continued. Popov continued sending phantoms into the Atlantic. The German handlers never suspected. On the German side, the cost was measured differently. Kapitänleutnant Werner Hartmann commanded U-517 from its commissioning in April 1941. Intercepted Enigma traffic from September 1942 included a personal letter Hartmann wrote to his wife in Hamburg. The letter discussed his daughter's 8th birthday, which he would miss while on patrol. He described a doll he planned to bring her from France. Analysts noted nothing operationally relevant. The letter continued. "Helga asks when I will come home. I tell her when we win the war. She asks when that will be. I have no answer anymore, Elizabeth." When U-517 expended its last torpedoes hunting convoy, SC-104, a Phantom, designation created by MI6, on September 17, 1942, Hartmann's frustration was recorded in the boat's war diary. "Another empty sector. Navigation confirmed. Either intelligence is faulty or we are cursed." By September 19, 1942, the operation entered its execution phase. Tricycle had been transmitting false convoy data for 14 months. German Naval Command had begun expressing frustration about intelligence reliability. But critically, they suspected their sources, coast watchers, aerial recon, not their communication security. The window for the operation's most critical test was the next 6 months. If the pattern held, Operation Bodyguard would become the standard protocol for protecting ultra-intelligence, the British codename for decrypted Enigma traffic, for the remainder of the war. The infrastructure for Operation Bodyguard required precise forgery. MI6 created false shipping manifests using genuine Admiralty forms stolen from offices in Liverpool and Glasgow. Each fabricated convoy received a designation pulled from the actual convoy numbering system. HX convoys supposedly ran from Halifax to the United Kingdom. SC convoys from Sydney, Nova Scotia. On convoys returned from Liverpool to North America, the false designations were inserted into gaps in the real sequence. Convoy HX-228 was real, HX-230 was real. HX-229 was the phantom MI6 inserted between them. To German intelligence studying the sequence, nothing appeared suspicious. The documents included complete ship rosters. The SS Robert Anderson, a Liberty ship supposedly carrying steel and grain. The HMS Brilliant, a destroyer escort. The MV Norwegian Star, a tanker. These ships existed. MI6 pulled names from vessels under repair, in dry dock, or assigned to coastal routes. The manifests showed realistic cargo tonnage, departure dates, and projected arrival times. Support documentation included forged harbor master reports from Halifax, weather, assessments, and even fabricated communications between convoy commodores and Admiralty routing staff. Every document was aged appropriately. Creased paper, coffee stains on some corners, official stamps slightly worn as they would be after months of use. The communication system operated through existing Abwehr networks. Tricycle transmitted intelligence via shortwave radio from London 3 times per week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 2100 hours exactly. The transmissions used one-time pads for encryption, theoretically unbreakable codes, where each message used a unique key page. The Abwehr had provided Tricycle with his pads. MI6 had photographed every page before giving them to him. This meant British intelligence could read what the Germans would read before Tricycle even transmitted it. Coordination was absolute. Backup channels existed for urgent intelligence. Tricycle could request emergency meetings with his Lisbon contact, an Abwehr officer operating under diplomatic cover. These face-to-face meetings happened 4 times during Operation Bodyguard's 18-month duration. Each time, Tricycle handed over documents, shipping schedules, cargo manifests, convoy routing changes. The Abwehr officer photographed the documents and transmitted them to Berlin. MI6 knew the transmission schedule because they were reading Abwehr Enigma traffic too. The escape route was diplomatic immunity. Tricycle officially operated as a businessman with Yugoslav commercial interests, giving him reason to travel between London, Lisbon, and occasionally Madrid. If the operation collapsed, MI6 would extract him through Portugal, which maintained neutrality and had well-established British intelligence networks. A safe house existed in Estoril, 20 kilometers west of Lisbon. Extraction timeline from London to Portuguese safety, 72 hours maximum under emergency protocols. The team structure maintained strict compartmentalization. Tricycle knew he was transmitting false convoy data. He didn't know about Enigma. His MI6 handler, identified in files only as Officer 12, knew about the convoy deception. He didn't know the intelligence came from decrypted U-boat traffic. The Bletchley Park liaison, designated Coordinator 7, knew Enigma was being protected through deception. He didn't know Tricycle's identity. Each operative knew precisely their function and nothing beyond operational necessity. If captured, interrogation would reveal one layer, never the full architecture. Surveillance specialists monitored German responses through multiple channels. Radio intercept stations tracked Abwehr communications to verify they were processing Tricycle's intelligence. Naval intelligence officers at the Operational Intelligence Center analyzed U-boat movement patterns from Enigma decrypts to confirm submarines were being vectored toward the phantom coordinates. Convoy routing officers ensured real shipping stayed clear of the kill zones MI6 was creating. None of these specialists knew the others existed. The planning consumed 11 months. By June 1942, operational protocols were finalized. Tricycle had transmitted preliminary convoy intelligence for 14 months to establish credibility. German Naval Command had come to rely on his reports as one source among several. The British had 6 weeks before the first major deception operation would test whether the infrastructure could withstand sustained German scrutiny. August 7, 1942. At 14:30 hours, Tricycle received his briefing at a safe house in Kensington. The operation had a simple objective: convince German Naval Command that convoy HX-229 would depart Halifax on August 15th, follow a Great Circle route to Liverpool, and arrive August 29th. The convoy would supposedly include 37 merchant ships and 6 destroyer escorts. Cargo: war materials, food supplies, fuel oil. Total tonnage: approximately 200,000 tons. Actual status: the convoy designation was fabricated. No ships would follow that route. The intelligence package Officer 12 provided included typed shipping manifests, a hand-drawn convoy formation diagram showing ship positions in 9 columns, and a routing chart with the convoy's projected path marked in blue pencil. The documents were genuine Admiralty forms. The information was completely false. Tricycle's role: photograph these documents, transmit the convoy's basic details via radio, and arrange to pass the physical documents to his Abwehr contact in Lisbon during a scheduled business trip August 11th. One complication emerged during the briefing. Tricycle noted that his previous report, transmitted August 4th, had indicated convoy HX-228 would depart August 10th. If he now reported HX-229 departing August 15th, only 5 days later, the Germans might question the scheduling. Officer 12 consulted coordination, protocols. The actual HX-229 convoy, the real one, had been delayed 48 hours due to mechanical issues with 2 freighters. MI6 made a tactical decision: incorporate the delay into Tricycle's report. He would inform the Abwehr that HX-229's departure had been postponed from August 13th to August 15th because of ship repairs. This detail would match what German reconnaissance might observe in Halifax Harbor. Credibility would be maintained. Over the next 72 hours, Tricycle prepared the transmission. The radio message went out August 9th at 2100 hours. Source confirms HX-229 departs 15th August, routing via 53 degrees north, 37 merchants. Destroyer screen includes HMS Brilliant. Detailed manifests to follow Lisbon meeting. The transmission took 6 minutes. The Abwehr acknowledged receipt within 20 minutes. Bletchley Park intercepted the acknowledgement at 21:28 hours. Within 14 hours, German Naval Intelligence had forwarded the report to U-Boat Command Headquarters in Lorient, France. August 11th, 1400 hours. Tricycle met his Abwehr contact, Kapitän zur See Albrecht von Auenrode, at a café in Lisbon's Rossio district. The meeting appeared routine. 2 businessmen discussing commercial opportunities. Von Auenrode ordered espresso. Tricycle ordered tea. After 10 minutes of mundane conversation about Yugoslav timber exports, Tricycle slid a manila envelope across the table. Von Auenrode opened it beneath the table's edge, briefly examined the contents, and transferred the envelope to his briefcase. The exchange took 11 seconds. They continued discussing timber for another 20 minutes before departing separately. What von Auenrode didn't know was that MI6 had photographed him receiving the envelope from a facing apartment window. The photograph was insurance. If the Germans ever suspected Tricycle, MI6 could prove the Abwehr had accepted his intelligence repeatedly. The photo went into Tricycle's operational file. Von Auenrode returned to the German embassy, photographed the documents using a Leica camera with specialized close-focus lens, and transmitted the images to Berlin via encrypted telegraph. By August 12th, Admiral Dunitz's staff was reviewing convoy HX-229's projected route. The German response came swiftly. Enigma Intercepts from August 13th revealed U-Boat Command issuing new patrol orders. Submarines U-91, U-594, U-218, U-256, and U-617, 5 boats currently operating in the mid-Atlantic, received orders to form a patrol line along 53 degrees north, positioned to intercept the convoy between August 21st and August 24th. The patrol line would stretch 300 kilometers. Standard Wolfpack doctrine. Once one boat spotted the convoy, all 5 would converge for a coordinated night surface attack. August 15th arrived. In Halifax, the real convoy, HX-229A, the actual convoy, with designation modified to avoid confusion, departed on schedule with 28 merchant ships following a route 400 kilometers south of the patrol line MI6 had created. German reconnaissance aircraft spotted the convoy on August 17th, but identified it as convoy SC-95 based on its southern position. The aircraft reported the sighting to U-Boat Command. Donitz's staff checked their intelligence files. SC-95 was expected in that area. The identification matched. They didn't redirect the northern patrol line. Meanwhile, 400 kilometers north, U-594 was the first submarine to reach the designated patrol area. Kapitän Leutnant Friedrich Mumm recorded in the boat's war diary, August 19th, 2300 hours, on Station 53 North, 37 West, Sea State 4. Visibility good, no contacts. The entry continued for 5 consecutive days. August 20th, no contacts. August 21st, no contacts. August 22nd, no contacts. August 23rd, no contacts. By August 24th, all 5 submarines had exhausted their patrol time without sighting convoy HX-229. Fuel states were critical. The boats needed reserves for the return voyage to France. At 0600 hours, August 25th, U-Boat Command issued recall orders. The patrol line disbanded. Mumm's war diary from that day noted, recalled to base. Torpedo inventory, 14. Torpedoes expended, 0. Intelligence assessment. Convoy routing changed or delayed beyond our operational window. The assessment was half correct. The convoy's route had indeed changed. What German Naval Intelligence didn't grasp was that the convoy never existed on the route they'd been given. The conclusion Donitz's staff reached was exactly what MI6 needed them to reach. Their intelligence was slightly outdated, not systematically compromised. The operation's success created immediate expansion. September 1942, MI6 activated Phase 2 of Operation Bodyguard. Sustained deception. Instead of 1 phantom convoy, Tricycle would now report 3 to 4 false convoys monthly. The volume required expanded infrastructure. Additional forgers joined the document production team. A second double agent, codenamed Garbo, a Spanish national named Juan Pujol Garcia, began supplementing Tricycle's reports with supposedly independent intelligence from fabricated subsources. The dual reporting created cross-confirmation in German files. When Tricycle reported convoy SC-1004 departing Sydney, and Garbo's network separately confirmed the same convoy a day later, German Naval Intelligence marked the intelligence as verified from multiple sources. October 1942 through March 1943 became the operation's most intensive period. German records captured post-war revealed that during these 6 months, U-Boat Command dispatched submarines to intercept 19 separate convoys based on intelligence from Tricycle and Garbo. 14 of those convoys were complete fabrications. 3 were real convoys with deliberately wrong routing information. The actual ships traveling 500 kilometers from the reported position. 2 were real convoys with correct routes, deliberately included to maintain credibility when German reconnaissance could verify the intelligence. The method operated on a calculated risk ratio. Approximately 70% of intelligence was false or misleading. 30% was accurate, but operationally useless. By the time U-boats reached the position, the convoy had already passed, or weather made interception impossible. This ratio prevented German intelligence from dismissing Tricycle as unreliable, while ensuring most submarine patrol time was wasted on empty ocean. The fuel expenditure was devastating to German operations. Each U-boat consumed approximately 12 tons of diesel reaching a mid-Atlantic patrol area. If the convoy wasn't there, the submarine had wasted fuel that couldn't be used hunting elsewhere. Over 6 months, the Phantom convoy operations consumed approximately 2,300 tons of submarine diesel fuel, enough to power 30 additional combat patrols. The opportunity cost was measured in ships Germany didn't sink, and convoys they didn't intercept because their submarines were chasing ghosts. December 19th, 1942. 0300 hours. U-225 was conducting surface patrol 412 kilometers west of Ireland, searching for convoy ONS-154, which Tricycle had reported departing Liverpool December 17th. The convoy was real. The routing was wrong, deliberately offset by 300 kilometers. Korvettenkapitän Wolfgang Leimkuhler maintained patrol for 68 hours. The war diary entry from December 21st recorded the frustration. No sighting. Weather deteriorating. Sea state 6. Beginning return to base. Intelligence suggests convoy took northern route. Our patrol area now irrelevant. What Leimkuhler didn't know was that convoy ONS-154 had passed 290 kilometers south of his position on December 19th while he was searching north. The convoy reached North America without incident. U-225 returned to Saint-Nazaire, France, having expended 6 torpedoes on a merchant ship they encountered by chance. A lone straggler from a different convoy entirely. Mission assessment, partial success. Actual outcome, complete operational failure, with the primary target never located. January through March 1943 marked the operation's critical test. Ultra-intelligence, the decrypted Enigma traffic, revealed that German Naval Intelligence had begun expressing doubts about agent reporting accuracy. An intercepted message from Conter-Admiral Erhard Mertens, Chief of German Naval Intelligence, dated January 28, 1943, stated, "Agent Ivan reports remain valuable, but success rate declining. Recommend supplementing with increased reconnaissance." The message suggested skepticism, but not suspicion of compromise. The Germans suspected their agents' sources were becoming less reliable. They didn't suspect the agents themselves were controlled by the British. MI6 responded with tactical adaptation. February 1943. Tricycle transmitted intelligence about convoy HX-2206. A genuine convoy with completely accurate routing information. The transmission included exact departure date, route, speed, and composition. This was calculated risk. German U-boats would intercept this convoy. Ships would be sunk. Sailors would die. But the successful interception would restore German confidence in Tricycle's reporting. The moral calculation was brutal, but mathematically precise. Sacrifice one convoy to ensure the Germans continued trusting false intelligence about the next 20. February 16, 1943. Convoy HX-226 departed New York with 41 merchant ships. German U-boat patrol line, positioned based on Tricycle's accurate intelligence, made contact February 21st. The resulting engagement sank 4 merchant ships and damaged 2 others. Total losses: 19,000 tons of cargo and 37 seamen killed. The engagement was considered a German tactical success. The Abwehr assessment of Tricycle's intelligence, dated February 24th, noted, Agent Even reporting validated by successful interception, HX 226. Credibility restored. Continue priority handling all Ivan intelligence. The calculated sacrifice had achieved its strategic purpose. For the next 4 months, German Naval Intelligence treated every subsequent report from Tricycle as reliable. Most of those reports were fabrications. During this period, the human cost became increasingly visible in operational files. MI6's psychological monitoring of Tricycle intensified. A session note from March 19, 1943, recorded, Agent asked how many ships we believed were lost in HX 226 engagement. Provided figure, 4. Agent silent for approximately 40 seconds, eventually said, I gave them that convoy. Reminded Agent he gave them what we instructed him to give them. Agent replied, the distinction doesn't help. Session terminated. Agent functional but displaying increased psychological strain. Recommend continued monitoring. The strain was managed through operational compartmentalization. Tricycle was never told which convoys were real and which were phantom. He transmitted the intelligence MI6 provided without knowing the operational outcome. This reduced his psychological burden. He could tell himself every convoy might be fabrication. The uncertainty was itself a form of protection. Post-war interviews revealed this was partially successful. Popov stated, I learned not to ask whether the information was real. If I didn't know, I couldn't feel responsible. This was cowardice, masquerading as operational security. April through June 1943 became the Endgame phase. Ultra-intelligence revealed Germany was losing the Battle of the Atlantic. Convoy losses had declined dramatically, not because U-boat operations had decreased, but because submarines were consistently in the wrong positions. An intercepted Enigma transmission from Admiral Dönitz, dated May 4, 1943, expressed the frustration. Despite intelligence advantages, contact success rate unacceptable. Enemy appears to anticipate patrol positions. Recommend investigation into convoy routing intelligence and potential security compromise. This was the moment MI6 had prepared for. If Dönitz ordered a full security investigation, Enigma itself might be discovered. The response was immediate escalation of Operation Bodyguard's scope. May through August 1943, Tricycle and Garbo transmitted increasingly detailed intelligence about Operation Overlord, the Allied invasion of France. All of it completely false. The strategic deception shifted German attention from investigating convoy intelligence to preparing for phantom invasion threats. The investigation into convoy intelligence security quietly died, buried under the overwhelming intelligence volume about cross-channel operations. By September 1943, Operation Bodyguard's convoy deception component entered dormancy. The strategic calculus had shifted. Allied naval superiority had been established. Long-range aircraft now provided convoy escort across the full Atlantic. The U-boat threat, while still present, no longer represented existential danger to British supply lines. MI6 redirected Tricycle and Garbo toward supporting deception operations for the eventual European invasion. The final Phantom convoy was transmitted October 7, 1943. Designation: ON-206, supposedly departing Liverpool October 10th, bound for New York. German patrol boats, positioned to intercept it, found empty ocean. By that point, U-boat command had bigger concerns. Allied air superiority over the Bay of Biscay was sinking submarines faster than they could deploy. The failure to find ON-206 merited only a brief note in operational records. The first indication that Operation Bodyguard had succeeded came not from MI6 debriefs, but from captured German documents. May 1945. Allied intelligence teams examining files at U-boat command headquarters in Flensburg, Germany, discovered operational planning papers from 1942 through 1943. The documents showed that German Naval Intelligence had consistently rated Agent Ivan Tricycle as a reliable source throughout the period. Success rates for his convoy intelligence were noted as declining, but attributed to improved Allied routing security, not to the possibility that Ivan was controlled. The investigation into how many U-boat patrols had been misdirected took 2 years. Analysts cross-referenced German patrol logs against actual Allied convoy routes. The final assessment, completed in 1947 but classified until 1974, concluded that Operation Bodyguard had directly wasted approximately 14,000 U-boat patrol hours, equivalent to 583 patrol days across the German submarine fleet. The fuel expenditure exceeded 3,000 tons. Opportunity cost in terms of convoys Germany might have intercepted if their submarines had been correctly positioned, estimated at 12 to 17 major convoys representing between 240,000 and 360,000 tons of shipping that crossed the Atlantic safely. Official German response was non-existent. The Third Reich had collapsed. Post-war interrogations of surviving Abwehr officers revealed that none had suspected Agent Ivan of being controlled. Kapitän zur See von Auenrode, Tricycle's Lisbon contact, stated during his 1946 interrogation, "The intelligence Ivan provided was consistent with other sources. When it proved accurate, as with HX-226, it validated the entire network. When patrols found nothing, we attributed this to Allied routing changes or operational timing. The possibility of systematic deception never entered our assessment framework." The British government maintained complete silence. Operation Bodyguard remained classified. Tricycle's role remained classified. Enigma remained classified. Public understanding of the Battle of the Atlantic attributed Allied success to superior technology: long-range aircraft, improved radar, better depth charges. These factors mattered. But the underlying advantage was knowledge. The British knew where German submarines were. The Germans thought they knew where Allied convoys were. Only one side was correct. Strategic assessment within MI6 concluded that Operation Bodyguard had effectively neutralized Germany's submarine advantage at a critical period. The operation's success preserved British supply lines during 1942 and early 1943, when the U-boat threat was most severe. However, the assessment also noted a strategic cost. The operation required deliberately sacrificing convoy HX-226 to maintain Tricycle's credibility. The calculus, 4 ships sunk to save potentially dozens, was considered justified, but the precedent was troubling. The assessment stated, "Future operations must consider whether maintaining agent credibility through calculated sacrifice creates moral hazards that extend beyond immediate operational requirements." Diplomatic consequences were minimal. By the time Operation Bodyguard was partially declassified in 1974, wartime alliances had dissolved into Cold War realities. The revelation that MI6 had conducted sophisticated deception operations against Nazi Germany was considered historically interesting, but strategically irrelevant. The techniques, however, influenced Cold War intelligence doctrine extensively. The operational cost appeared in unexpected ways. For Tricycle, the psychological burden manifested years after the war. Dusan Popov continued intelligence work through 1944, then transitioned to business. Interviews from the 1960s revealed persistent psychological effects. He described recurring dreams where he transmitted convoy coordinates, then watched ships sink while unable to warn them. The dreams persisted until his death in 1981. The phenomenon wasn't unique. Post-war studies of intelligence operatives involved in deception operations showed elevated rates of long-term psychological stress compared to operatives conducting direct action missions. For the German submariners, the consequences were measured in wasted patrol time and eroded morale. U-boat crews developed a cynical attitude toward intelligence reports. Post-war interviews with surviving commanders revealed a pattern. By mid-1943, many captains stopped trusting convoy intelligence entirely, instead relying on independent reconnaissance and chance encounters. This undermined what remained of German naval intelligence effectiveness. The system's credibility never recovered. The calculation MI6 leadership made was clear. Preserving the Enigma secret justified the deception's costs. Ultra-intelligence influenced every major Allied operation from mid-1941 through war's end. Protecting that source required sacrificing transparency, accepting moral ambiguity, and occasionally allowing enemy successes to maintain cover. The assessment concluded, benefits substantially outweighed costs. Whether this proved correct remained subject to historical debate. The moral question Operation Bodyguard poses is whether intelligence agencies can ethically manipulate enemy forces through systematic deception, particularly when that deception requires calculated sacrifice of friendly forces. Was MI6 justified in deliberately allowing convoy HX-226 to be attacked to preserve Tricycle's credibility? Does wartime necessity excuse peacetime ethical standards? The operation succeeded strategically. German submarine effectiveness declined. Allied convoys got through. Britain survived. But success doesn't automatically equal justification. One perspective argues the deception was necessary and proportionate. War inherently involves choosing between terrible options. Sacrificing 4 ships to save potentially 40 represents a rational strategic calculation. The alternative, losing the Enigma advantage, could have prolonged the war and cost substantially more lives. Intelligence services must operate in moral gray zones precisely because enemies don't respect moral clarity. The deception worked. The war was won. The ends justified the means. The opposing perspective argues that systematic deception corrupts intelligence agencies beyond the immediate operational requirements. Operation Bodyguard established a precedent. Intelligence services can deliberately mislead enemies even when that deception requires friendly casualties. Once that principle is accepted, what limits exist? If 4 ships can be sacrificed, why not 40? If convoy routes can be falsified, why not entire invasion plans? The operation succeeded by standards of effectiveness. But effectiveness isn't the only standard that matters. The answer reveals more about your worldview than about Operation Bodyguard itself. Do you prioritize consequentialist ethics, judging actions by outcomes, or deontological principles, judging actions by inherent rightness regardless of results? Neither framework provides comfortable conclusions. The operation saved lives through deception while costing lives through calculated sacrifice. What's your take on intelligence deception in wartime? Does protecting a strategic advantage justify deliberate misinformation that gets people killed? Drop your perspective in the comments. If this story made you reconsider the moral complexity of intelligence operations, hit that like button and share. The ethics of wartime deception remain as relevant now as they were in 1943. We just don't always know when we're on which side of the deception.